Hello, Cancer the Crab. Here's your weekly horoscope for February 28th to March 6th. Well, I'm sure you've noticed already that in the past couple years, you really had a bit of a time of it. You had to work hard. People in your life, family, friends, yourself even, may have gone through a number of crises, restrictions, things that held you back, and that may or may not have had anything to do with the pandemic. But this year, a lot of that is left behind, and that's a good thing. Now, in this week here, we have Pluto in Capricorn finishing off a trine to Mars on about Tuesday morning, I think it is. So at least until then, you have an opportunity still, if you haven't already, to begin some new ventures that actually help create a firmer foundation for you to stand on. So it would have been a good time last week or in this first few days of this week to try something new. And that might be even just trying out a new attitude. Cancer, sometimes you get a little bit moody and you're very easily knocked down, either being grouchy, depressed, feeling sorry for yourself, or all kinds of other unpleasant moods that you don't need to deal with, and certainly your family and friends don't want to deal with either. But the good news is things look a lot brighter this week. So I'd like to encourage you to recognize that when you do get into your dark moods, they don't really serve you, and it might be best for you to keep those a little more private at times. The good news this week, as the sun continues along in Pisces, it's probably forming some trines to your sun or some other Cancer planets that you may have. So that will end up being a very brightening influence for you. One of the things that might be making you feel a lot better is with the sun transiting through your solar ninth house. That has a lot to do with education and travel, higher life philosophies, religion, and spirituality. I find generally Cancer tends to be very in touch with their faith and spirituality. As a water sign, most of the water signs are very much into having a higher life philosophy and believing that there's a lot more to this world than just what we see around us every day. So your faith could be of great comfort to you this week. If you're not a religious person or not one to be inclined to follow philosophies, religions, or things, that's okay. It could be that instead this aspect is urging you to explore in the way of travel or in the way of learning. I've always thought it's interesting that education and travel end up being in the same houses in the zodiac, the third and the ninth houses, because when you think about it, when you read and when you learn, or even if you watch videos, it's like sometimes you can embrace the whole culture of the whatever the author might be writing about or whatever the videographer might be reporting to you. You kind of sink yourself into it almost as if you're having a culture experience. And as well, when you travel to places, you're often going to be educated. So there's a wonderful connection between education and travel in the third and the ninth house. And with the sun there in Pisces for you, it could be that one or both of those things are something that will bring you some happiness this week. With Mercury conjunct Jupiter all week, it could be that you're considering to take a trip, you're planning on a trip in the future, and as well this week might be full of a lot of short trips that might be good for you for some reason or another. It is possible that where you live, restrictions are beginning to lift due to the COVID pandemic, and that would be welcome news for any sign, but especially for you. You don't mind being a homebody. You know, you can enjoy your own quiet, private space, and you certainly enjoy your home and your family. But even Cancer the Crab needs to get out of the house now and then. And so getting out and doing something new and different, seeing different places and people, perhaps even being able to see some people you haven't been with in a while if those restrictions are lifting. These would all be good things for you, Cancer. Also, what helps that along, I should have just probably talked about it at the same time, Venus in Pisces as well. Again, very positive for your sign. And this week, it's making what's called a sextile to the planet Uranus, which is a very soft aspect, and it's actually a very fun aspect. With a Venus-Uranus sextile, what I like about that one is that's when, we become the joker of the zodiac, so to speak. We are willing to, be a little crazy. I always find it fun when Cancer, for example, which can be a very conservative and very earthbound sign at times, they actually have a wonderful sense of humor that people often don't get to see. And what I like about Cancerian sense of humor is it's really off the wall and funny as all get out. And this week with Venus sextile Uranus from Monday to Thursday, please remember your sense of humor and utilize your sense of humor even with people and in your relationships this week, because especially for signs like Scorpio and Taurus and a few others, humor is the best way to reach them. Now, Mars is moving out of Taurus. It's trining the Pluto, as I mentioned, but it is going to move into the sign of Gemini. And that's going to put Mars in a hidden part of your horoscope for about a month, 40 days or so. And what that means is either you choose to quietly be working behind the scenes on something that you're then going to launch out there in the world later on, or it could just be that you just need to be more involved with things that involve the 12th house. A little bit concerned that, for example, the 12th house rules hospitalization and health clinics. And when Mars travels the 12th house, sometimes there's a need to be in or visit people in the hospital or in some other place of confinement, which is what the house rules. But it doesn't have to be necessarily anything negative. It could be that, like I said, you're just quietly working behind the scenes, diligently doing your job that Cancer so often does. With Jupiter and Saturn squaring still, Saturn and Uranus squaring, with Uranus and Taurus in your solar 11th house, and with Saturn in Aquarius in your solar 8th house, it does kind of indicate that there can be some financial issues that you need to deal with, either your own or someone else's. Cancer tends to be very generous and they usually look after their family very well. So it could be that some member of your family is looking for help from you financially, or it could be that you're the one needing help and you need to get your affairs straightened out, financial affairs straightened out, I mean. Sometimes, even though it's a square aspect, I do see that there's a Mercury-Jupiter conjunction occurring in Aquarius as well. So that is in the house of money and joint finances for you. So it could be that any financial situation that you have in partnership with somebody will actually go very well for you. It could be that you enter into a financial agreement with a partner, could be a spouse or it could be someone else very close to you, that actually could end up being very fruitful for you in the future. As well, it can be the need to obtain a loan, a mortgage, or some other financing through a bank, insurance, or some other financial company. The only warning I do have, although Mercury conjunct Jupiter is a very positive aspect in general, it can be too much of a good thing and sometimes people spend money foolishly. So Cancer, I would really warn you, do not spend money you do not have this week, because there's a tendency for you to want to be a little overly generous, or you just decide, you know what, I just need to buy something really expensive, and well, you may find out you actually didn't need to do that, and it might be costly in the long run. So do mind your finances in particular this week, Cancer. It's very, very important so that you don't go off the financial rails by making a mistake. Other than that, we have the Neptune in the sign of Pisces as well. It's only aspecting the moon this week, which is your ruling planet. So it could be a bit of a roller coaster ride for you this week. Keep that in mind, because when you're feeling down, you're feeling sorry for yourself, when you're feeling like the world hates you, it doesn't. It's just your perspective on it temporarily, because Neptune is confusing or disillusioning you in some way. But there are some bright spots as well. When the moon is in Scorpio, for example, from Tuesday to Thursday, that's a much more positive place for the moon, and certainly involving Neptune and the sign of Cancer, because it might create a grand trine, which is one of the most positive aspects you can get in the zodiac. Lastly, with Chiron and Aries, it may be bringing up some of your deep inner woundedness this week, especially if there are some difficult occurrences that may come up. But do know that this is also part of a healing experience for you. I'll remind you of this. If you have a pain, remember the pain is a symptom. The pain is a symptom that there's a deeper problem. Example, you fall down and you hurt yourself. The pain could be of a broken leg or a torn ligament or something. So the pain is not the issue. It's a symptom of a deeper issue. So keep that in mind as Chiron and Aries is going through this week, and a few other things that may bring up some situations that will have you, well, lose your stuff over, but you don't really need to do that. Try to remain calm and look deeper than the pain to see what the real problem is. Other than that, I think this week is going to be a much better week for most people than the last few, and I certainly hope it is for you, Cancer. Good luck.